Social Security Planning 2019. This is going to be somewhat of a webinar that we're going to go over every year. I'm part of a group called Savvy Social Security Planning, and a lady named Elaine Floyd runs it through horsesmouth.com. I've been a member of Horse's Mouth for a long time. I mean, we're going on since 2003. Yeah, I think 2003 or something like that. Just a great resource for financial advisors. This program right here probably cost me $1,000 a year. Elaine does, and I interviewed her for my podcast back in July of 2018. She is freaking fantastic. My go-to person on all things Social Security. So if you got the big three, the way I look at it, you got my man Devin on YouTube, Larry Kotlikoff from BU, the professor. I think he writes for Forbes and all those big wigs, and Elaine more for financial advisors. Anyway, so that's the big three in my opinion, without question. But anyway, so Elaine does this thing every year as presentations called Savvy Social Security for Boomers, and it's not just for boomers, but that's where the premise began. So we're just going to go over it one by one. It's fantastic. It's a great piece of literature, great for you to understand. I would ask you to put comments and questions in here because I will follow up with this on occasion. Frequently, as a matter of fact, just to see what kind of questions come to mind. And I'm also going to put this as a premiere, so I'll probably put this on later on, the next couple of days or something like that as a premiere, so that way you can watch while I've already did this video and you can actually comment and I'll be on there to answer your questions, if that makes sense. So if you're watching this for the first time, it's essentially live, I'll be on there. So throw questions my way for sure. All right. So a little bit about Elaine. She has she's got three scenarios. She is over 70. She's divorcee, and her previous husband she's a widow from her previous husband. Well, if that makes sense. So I can't remember if she got remarried and her second husband died. I can't remember, but I remember she had spousal benefits as a divorcee, and then she had survivor benefits as well on top of her own because she's still working. And so just a very interesting lady, just lots of wonderful tidbits that we'll go over. All right, so Social Security, Savvy Social Security Planning, what baby boomers need to know to maximize retirement income. Copyright Horse's Mouth 2019. Baby boomers want to know, will Social Security be there for me? How much can I expect to receive? When should I apply? How can I maximize my benefits? And will Social Security be enough to live on in retirement? Those 5 things. Will it be there? Yes. How much can I expect to receive? We'll go into that. When should I apply for Social Security benefits? Ideally, the later the better, but we'll go into that because every situation is unique, my friends. How can I maximize benefits, and will it be enough to live on? All right, so understanding the value of Social Security. It offers income you cannot live. I mean, that's one of the benefits. I don't get why people discount Social Security so much. I mean, it's a government program, but I mean, it offers income you simply can't outlive. If your monthly benefit is $2,000 today, and you live 10 more years, you'll receive $301,000 in those 10 years. If you live 30 years, you'll receive $1.12 million, and that assumes the Social Security trustees 2.6 annual cost of living adjustments. I mean, that's real money, man. $2,000 over 30 years. That's 360 payments, adjusting it at 2.6% a year cost of living. That's real money. Let's not discount it. It's real money. Even if you only live 10 years, it's going to be $300,000. It offers annual inflation adjustments. If your monthly benefit is $2,000 today and annual cost of living adjustments are 2.6, which is what the trustees report says, in 10 years you'll begin $2,585. In 30 years you'll begin $4,320. That's a big deal. I mean, that's thankfully that way you're not stuck at $2,000 a month like a lot of pensions are 30 years from now. It's not going to get the job done. All right, so will it be there for me? This is the big one because I hear all the time, I don't count on Social Security. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's never supposed to do that. All right, all these things are true, but the facts are, if you're not planning on using Social Security in your financial planning, retirement planning, I think you're making a horrific mistake. So here's a trust fund balance. It's 2.892 and still growing. Okay, we got total income of the $2.892 trillion that they have in there, and they spent total income of 1.03. Total expenditures of $1 trillion. So the net increase in assets in 2017 was $3 billion. So they increased their assets from $2.89 billion at the beginning of 2017, the end of 2017, excuse me, until $2.895 trillion at the end of 2018. So over the course of the last year, it increased by and it's almost $3 trillion is the assets, the trust fund balance. All right, and this source is the office of the chief actuary of the SSA, Social Security. Now, I think this is pretty interesting. Long-term projections without reform. Now, I want to be very clear here. Elaine doesn't talk too much about this, and I get why, but I want to talk about this. Without reform, benefits falls to 79% in 2034. Let me just see if I can move myself up there. I guess as far as I go. All right, benefits will fall it's a 79% in 2034 without reform. Now, there's a lot of trustees report right there. There's a lot of things going on here. Now, here we got income. You can see the income is flat. Scheduled payable benefits here going up, then they flatten off. Scheduled but not fully payable. Payable benefits and income after trust fund is exhausted. So we got that gap right there in 2034. All right, payable benefits as a percent of scheduled benefits from now until 2033 is 100%. 2034 is 79.79%, and 2092 is 74%. Now this has actually gone up. If I recall correctly, it was 71% before, so that's actually gone up in 2092. But even just right now, we have 74% of benefits still going to be paid, and that's what's that? I mean, 75 years from now or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. So the idea of Social Security won't be there is just silly. But how are the benefits the trustees report looked at in terms of calculating it? Devin Carroll had a great video I just watched today. Was mowing the lawn, and he was talking about that they have an income base, an unemployment of about 5.5%. Unemployment right now is 4%. All right, so Devin was saying that is what they're using. Is they have a low, medium, and a high. High unemployment 6.5%, low unemployment 4.5%, intermediate 5.5%. Well, so basically the issue is if we have a low unemployment going forward, that is not counted for in these numbers. It's just not. Now they also have they're not counting for if there's a reduction in immigration. They do count for the fact that most women aren't having that many kids anymore. Just not. I mean, every Western society, not just Western society, every affluent society is the demographics are leading to older and older population. That's already accounted for in the Social Security Trustees report. The immigration stuff's different for sure, but what's accounted for is a demographic collapse essentially. But what's not accounted for is the unemployment. And again, they're saying 5.5%. We're nowhere near that. We're way below that right now. So there's a couple things in there that's interesting that if you had a 5 to 4.5% unemployment, this would be even better. So remember, we got a good, bad, and ugly. Or not say bad. Yeah, I guess bad. Good, bad, and ugly. And we're just focused on the bad. If it's good, Social Security could last forever without any changes whatsoever, depending on unemployment and GDP growth. What would it take to restore solvency? Increase maximum earnings subject to Social Security tax. I'm telling you, it's just a matter of time for that happens. Rightly or wrongly, it's going to happen just like they did for Medicare. This is the big one. Raise the normal retirement age. For the love of me, I don't understand why it's only 67. They should easily raise that to 70, just like that. Done. If you want to put on the backs of those under 40, so what? But someone's got to have to. I mean, the facts were when we did Social Security, it was never intended to pay you 30 years of benefits. It just wasn't. And now more and more people are. Lower benefits for future retirees. I don't know if that's going to fly so much. I think they're going to increase the maximum earnings and raise the normal retirement age is what I think they're going to do for sure. The bottom line for baby boomers is your benefits are not likely to be affected. I completely agree with that. All right. How much can you expect to receive? Your benefit will depend on two things. How much you earned over your working career, which we get an average index monthly earnings, or AIME, and when you apply for benefits. Literally those two things. So let's talk about this. Social Security benefits are calculated at 62. Each year's earnings are tallied up and indexed for inflation. I've talked about that a million times a Sunday. Just remember that. At 62, they look at each year you've been working, index them for inflation, and then they take the highest 35 of those, and that's our average to get your average index monthly earnings, which is this. Your aim is divided by 3 bend points. So we got 926, the first 926 of your average index monthly earnings. You get 90% of that benefit. From 926 to 558 558.3 in 2019, you get 32% of that. From anything above 5583, you get 15% of that. That's how your average index monthly earnings go down to determine your PIA, your primary insurance amount, which is the amount you'll receive at your full retirement age. Your full retirement age, depending on your year of birth, will be either 66, 66 and some months, or 67. I was born in 1970, so my full retirement age is 67. If you're born after 1959, your full retirement age will be 67. If you're born before 1960, it'll be 66 and some months. All right, and that is your PIA. Everything revolves around your AIME and your PIA. Example benefit formula right here, maximum Social Security earnings each year since age 22. Your average index monthly earnings here, again, we're taking your top 35 and we're inflating them and dividing by 420 to get our AIME. 35 years times 12 months is 420. And that'll give us our average index monthly earnings. And this is the maximum you can have for Social Security right now for your PIA, not the maximum benefit you can have, the maximum you can have for your primary insurance amount. First 926 is times by 0.9. The next up to 5583 is times by 0.32. And the next amount above 553 is times by 0.15. And your PIA is $3,030. That would be the amount you get at your full retirement age. All right. Now, full retirement age, we talked about that 1960 and later 67. And before that is 66 and some months. What if you apply early benefits? This is important. So we're going to say your full retirement age is 67. That means you get 100% of that PIA at 67. So if the PIA was 3,030, which is I think what it was, 3,000, yeah, 3,030 right here. At 67, you'll get 100% of that. If you apply at 66, you'll only get 93.3% of that. If you apply at 62, you'll get 70% of that. You'll take a 30% pay cut. Now, if you're FRA, you're born before 1960, it'll be a little bit more favorable to you. 66, you'll get 100%. At 62, you only get 75%. Well, if you apply after your FRA, you get these 8% delayed earnings credits. And again, that would simply say at 66 or 67, you get 100% of your benefits. That's your full retirement age. You'll get your full PIA. At 70, if your full retirement age is 66, you'll get 132% of that $3,030. At 70, for a guy or lady whose full retirement age is 67, you'll get 124% of your PIA. So it is more favorable to you born earlier. It's less favorable to us. It's going to get even less favorable to the new generation. I'm just telling you, it has to. How to estimate your benefits? Yeah, I agree with this. Go to these websites, socialsecurity.gov. You just click on estimate your retirement benefits. It's just, you need to do that absolutely without question. Check your earnings record for sure. Now here's the interesting spousal benefit. So Charlotte and me, all right, we have a spousal benefit. And well, they give us an example, John and Jane. So John's primary insurance amount is $2,000 at his full retirement age. Jane's primary insurance amount is $800 at her full retirement age. If she applies at her full retirement age, we'll just say 67, her benefit won't be $800. It'll be half of what John's was. It'll be half of John's primary insurance amount. So she'll get a 25% bump up in benefits because of the spousal benefit. Does that make sense? So that's important to know. Now, we're going to talk about how, rules for spousal benefits. The primary worker, in this case, John, must have filed for his benefits. All right, you used to not be able to have to, but now you have to. Spouse must be at least 62, so Jane must be able to file. I mean, she has to be 62 to file for spousal benefits, and they'll be reduced because she's under the full retirement age, all right? Or 66 for full benefit, or if she's 67 for her full benefit. And she does get no delayed credits on spousal benefits. So if John were to file and then Jane hits her full retirement age, there's really no reason for Jane to wait because she is not getting delayed earnings credits on the spousal benefit, if that makes sense. So just remember, if you're thinking about taking your Social Security as a spousal benefit, there's no reason to wait until you're 70 to file because you're not getting any increase on the delayed earnings credit. Now, you might want to wait till John files later so he can get an increase on his delayed earnings credit, but the delayed earnings credits do not affect the spousal benefits. Hope that makes sense. Just remember, you don't just take your spousal benefit at your full retirement age unless your spouse has not filed, and then you have to think about that. Divorced spouses are a little bit more lenient, actually. So you have to have marriage lasted 10 years. You can't be married, all right? You got to be unmarried, is currently unmarried. Person receiving divorce spouse benefit currently is unmarried. The ex-spouse is at least 62, and the divorce was no more than 2 years ago. So if the divorce was more than 2 years ago, the ex does not need to file for benefits. So if you and I were divorced and it's been 3 years, I can file for my spousal benefits regardless of what you've done. You can't make the same case for if you're married trying to get spousal benefits. It doesn't work like that. Let me pause just. All right, so the divorced spouse, as long as the marriage lasted more than 10 years and is not married and is over 62 years old, there's a little bit more leniency in terms of when you can file for your spousal benefits, which is pretty cool. All right, so rules for divorced spouse benefits. More than one spouse can receive benefits on the same worker's record. So Elaine uses Liz Taylor. Remember her? I don't really, but apparently she was married 3 or 4 times over 10 years to 3 or 4 people. They could all file for divorcee spousal benefits. Benefits paid to one spouse do not affect the others, and divorced spouses must stop upon remarriage of spouse who is collecting benefits. If that makes sense. Not upon the remarriage of Liz Taylor, just upon the remarriage of you as a divorcee of Liz Taylor. If you get remarried, you don't get your divorced spousal benefits anymore. So again, the divorced spouse benefits will continue on as long as you stay unmarried. Once you get remarried, you lose those benefits. All right. Survivor benefit is a big deal, my friends. This is when I die and I leave my benefit to Charlotte. She needs to understand how this works. Now, the survivor benefit will depend on the age in which the deceased spouse, me, originally claimed my benefit. So if I claim my benefit before I'm 67, because my full retirement age is 67, my wife's or my surviving spouse benefit will be limited to the higher of the deceased spouse's benefit or 82.5% of his primary insurance amount. Good times, huh? So how confusing could that be? Just remember, if I claim before my FRA, it will be limited to the higher of my benefit I am getting now or 82.5% of my PIA. My PIA is $2,000 a month, and my benefit to my spouse would be 82.5%. She would get $1,650. However, if I was getting a benefit of $2,200, it'd be that on the day I die. So it's either 82.5% of my primary insurance amount, or it's the benefit I was getting the day I die, whichever is higher. All right, so I hope that makes sense. If I claimed after full retirement age, the survivor benefit will include delayed credits. I cannot tell you, just let me highlight. I cannot tell you how important that is, my friends. The delayed earnings credits on top of the cost of living adjustments can be a huge benefit to a surviving spouse to keep her out of poverty. Huge, 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 huge. All right, the age at which the widow claims will also potentially reduce the actual benefit. If my wife, Charlotte, claimed before her full retirement age, again 67, her survivor benefit will be reduced by a certain fraction. In this case, she can claim at 60, but it'll only be 71% of my PIA. All right, so if she claims earlier than her full retirement age, she will get a pretty significant reduction in benefit for sure. But she can claim at 60. I mean, she's eating ramen noodles, that's it. That might be something to consider. If she claims at her full retirement age or later, her survivor benefit will equal 100% of the benefit I was getting. So if I die and I was getting $3,000 a month in benefits, and Charlotte claims at 67 or later, she will step into that $3,000 a month. If she claims at 60 or 61 or 62, any year before her full retirement age at 67, she'll get a reduction in their survivor benefit because she's taking it early. Hope that makes sense. Now, if a spouse dies while both are receiving benefits, the widower may switch the higher benefit. That's a big deal, and a good example here. Joe and Julie are married. Both are over the full retirement age. Joe's benefit is $2,000. Julie's benefit is $1,200. Joe dies. Joe notifies Social Security of Joe's. Julie notifies Social Security of Joe's death. Her $1,200 a month benefit is then replaced by her $2,000 a month survivor benefit. No fuss, no muss, in theory. Example of early claiming, Joe and Julie are married. Joe's PIA is $2,000 and he files for Social Security at 62. His benefit would then be $1,500, 75% of $2,000. He dies. Julie's survivor benefit will depend on when she claims. If she claims before, if she claims her survivor benefit after her full retirement age, her benefit will be 82.5% of Joe's $2,000 PIA, or $1,650 for survivor benefits. That makes sense. So if she claims her survivor benefit at 66 or later, after her full retirement age, it'll be 82.5% of Joe's PIA because Joe claimed early. So another reason not to claim early for higher earning spouses is because not only will you potentially leave less money to Social Security, you probably will, but it'll be reduced as well because you took it before your PIA. Now remember, it will always be the higher of Joe's benefit at the time he died, or 82.5% of his PIA. All right, so it doesn't say he was only getting he was only getting $1,500 at this time. So in this time, Julie's benefit will be $1,650 because Joe was only earning $1,500 when he died because he took it early. I hope that it's confusing, man. I'm telling you, go back and watch this video a couple times. Read this right here. I know it's confusing, but it's important to understand. The whole point about this is if you're the primary breadwinner, don't take it early because you could be leaving your surviving spouse in a world of hurt for sure. If Julie claims her survivor benefit at age 60, her benefit will be 71.5% of the $2,000 because that's what Joe's PIA was. All right, so hers will be reduced because she's taking at 60 of Joe's PIA. So in this case, she has $1,650 or $1,430 depending on when she files. Good times. I don't want to beat that dead horse because it'll drive you insane. Example of delayed claiming, and this is the preferable one. Joe's PIA is $2,000. He files at 70. So his benefit goes to 132% of the $2,000, or in this case, $2,640. Then he dies. Julie's survivor benefit will equal Joe's benefit of the day of death, $2,640. If she claims at her full retirement age. If she claims at age 60, it'll be reduced by 29.5%. If she claims at her full retirement age, she will get the full max of Joe's benefit at his death, which in that case is $2,640. All right, a lot going on there. We don't want to beat that dead horse, but just remember, the later Joe files, the better for Julie. Just no two getting around that. All right, couples must have been married. Rules for survivor benefits. You got to be married for at least 9 months at the date of death, except in the case of an accident. Survivor must be at least 60. All right, so if you're 50 is disabled. If you're not disabled, 60 years old to get the survivor benefit. If you want the full survivor benefit, you got to take it at your full retirement age. So if Charlotte is 60 when I die, she'll get a significantly reduced survivor benefit off my record. If she were to take it at 67, she'll get the full benefit I was making when I died. Survivor benefit will not available if widow remarries before the age of 60. All right, so if you're 58 years old and you're thinking about just getting remarried, you might want to think about waiting a year and a half or so until you're 60 because you cannot get it if you remarry before the age of 60 unless that marriage ends. Now, divorced spouse survivor benefit available if the marriage lasts for 10 years. So again, going back to the divorcee, if you're divorced, you have access to survivor benefits and divorce benefits as long as the marriage lasted 10 years. Now, the one thing they don't talk about here, which I do want to point out, going back to Charlotte and me. So let's just go back to this right here, and we're going to say survivor. All right, let's say instead of Julie's benefit being $1,200, we're going to say it's $1,600. Joe dies, so Julie has $1,600. Joe has $2,000. What could happen is Julie could take Joe's $2,000 a month benefit, and she could, at her full retirement age, and allow her $1,600 benefit to grow at that 32% clip, which means when she hits 70, it'll be worth $2,112. I know that's confusing, but just remember, just because she's taking the higher benefit today might not necessarily be the most beneficial for her. Social Security was written up by their own Office of Inspector General that said they were not guiding widows properly. And they were saying just take the highest benefit, which in this case would be Joe's at $2,000. But if she were to do that, she would be losing out on the potential for the growth of her own benefit, if that makes sense. Or they're saying take your own, I mean, all kinds of different things here. I mean, so many different ways. In this case, she'd want to take Joe's. I mean, she'd want to take the deceased benefit, her survivor benefit, to allow her own benefit to grow, which is fine. But Social Security was not advising people of that opportunity to take one of the benefits and let the other just accumulate. I hope that makes sense. But it's a big deal there. You got to seek counsel if you're a survivor, and it looks like there might be a way to take one benefit and allow the other to continue to grow. Hope that makes sense. All right, so let's keep going here. And I've done a couple of videos on that. I did a video. I forgot what it's called. Social Security still misleading widows or something like that. Maybe I'll find it. Put a link to show link in the show notes. Social Security. I was saying something. Social Security. Yeah, I can't remember. Social Security misleading widows, I think is what the video title was called. All right, so when should you apply? All right, so factors considered, what is your health status, without question. I mean, if you're about to keel over, you might as well apply, maybe. Your life expectancy, your need for income, whether or not you plan to work, and survivor needs. All right, so we got a lot of different things to consider when you should apply. So let's go. The first one is, I mean, if you expect to live longer, then you should probably delay, and I'll show you why, because watch this. All right. Why delay benefits? Bigger checks to start. All right. So basically what's happening here is we assume a primary insurance amount of $2,800 and a 2.6% increase from cost of living adjustments. All right. So a percent of PIA, if you take it at 62, it's 70%. If you take it at 63, it's 75. So again, this is someone whose FRA is 67 years old. You get 124 at 70. So if you have $2,800 a month when you're 67 years old, you'll get 3472 when you're 70, but you'll get 1960 when you're 62. So let me write that down because I think this is a pretty big deal, I think. All right, so here you got 1960, 2,800, 3472. So that's the way your benefits are going to be. 1960 if you take it early, 2,800 if you take it at 67, 3472. Now, with cost of living adjustments, though, 2.6% cost of living adjustments, that benefit, if you delay it, is going to be 4,263. It's going to be worth another almost $800 more because if your PIA is 2,800, that's just what's determined when you're 62 years old. It's going to grow at 2.6% a year, according to trustees, which means when you're 2,800 at 62, they calculate your PIA. That's what happens. So they're saying, hey, Josh, at 60, we're 62 now. We're going to calculate your PIA. Your PIA right now is $2,800. So you can take it today, but it'll be reduced by 30%, or you can wait for 6 years. But it won't be $2,800 if you wait for 6 years because it's going to get a 2.6% cost of living adjustment. It'll be $3,183. In fact, if you wait until you're 70, it won't be 3472. It'll be 4263 because the cost of living adjustment is growing on that $2,800. Now, it will be growing on this too. We'll show you a different chart, but I hope that makes sense. So it's not between 62 at 1960, 67 at 2,800, and 70 at 3472. It's really how much it will be when you actually decide to take it. And when you first go down there and you say, I want to get my Social Security statement, they say your PIA at today's numbers, at 62 is $2,800. Remember, that does not account the cost of living adjustment. So let's keep going down here. Yeah, right here, more income later on. If you claim at 62, your benefit will be $2,407, all right, because of cost of living adjustments. If you claim at 67, it'll be $3,576 because of cost of living adjustments. If you claim at 70, it'll be $4,263 because of cost of living adjustments. I hope that makes sense. So the longer you wait, the more the 2.6% cost of living adjustments grow. And you can see it becomes this bigger gap. If you claim at 62, that $2,407 grows to $2,736. If you claim at 67, that 35. If you claimed at 67, that 3576 you're initially going to get grows So what happens here becomes this wider and wider gap. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So someone who claims at 70 will have 4263 in benefit, all right? Oops, right there. 4263 in benefit. So basically we're saying you're going to get at 70, 4263. Age 70, when claiming at 62, you'll get 2407. All right, so does that make sense? So you claimed at 62, you got 1960 a month. Now, when you return 7 years old, that 1960 a month is now 2407. Now, you didn't claim it all until 70, and now it's 4263. So we take the difference between 4263 and we subtract 2407, which is 1856. So your payment will be at $1,856 more by claiming at 70 than it was if you had claimed at 62, $1,856. But now I get you. You're saying, yeah, but that's great, Josh, but I didn't have any money for those previous 8 years. Now we'll talk about that. But now let's go to age 80. Now your cost of living adjustment, if you claimed at 62, is now 3111, but you're getting 5511. Which is 2200. So now the difference between the two benefits at 62 having claimed when you're 80 and 70 claiming at 70 when you're 80 is now $2,200 a month difference. Does that make sense? So it's a widening gap between the two, and that's pretty significantly. And that's a 2200 minus 1856 divided by 1856, that's an 18.5% increase over the increase that it was before. So in this case, I was making 1856 more a month than I was here, but because the cost of living adjustments are the same, but it's because it's on a bigger amount, now I'm making 2,200 more a month than I was there, just because the cost of COLA at 2.6 pays more on a higher amount than it pays on a lower amount. So now let's fast forward until we're 90 years old. Now it's 7124. I think this gets overlooked a lot. 4021. Now we're talking $3,103. So now we got, you're talking every month I'm getting $3,103 more than I was if I would have claimed at 62. Simply because the cost of living adjustment is a bigger amount per dollar bill. And the only thing that matters is the actual dollar bill. So now I'm getting another $900 more than I was getting before, which is, that's 41% more in terms of how much more I'm getting than I was before. That's significant. So now at the end of the day, here I'm making 7124 times 12. I'm making 85,488. Here I'm making $48,000 minus 48,000. I'm making 37,000 more. Just because I waited until I was 70. That's probably the biggest thing of this whole scenario that I think is overlooked a lot. People say, they'll go back to this guy here and they'll say the difference is 1960 or 3472, but that's not the difference. The difference with cost of living adjustments comes down to this chart right here. 2407 grows to 4021 when I'm 90, but delaying until I'm 70, I don't take 34. I don't get 3472. I get 4263, which grows to 7124 when I'm 90. And again, that's a widening gap on each dollar bill I get from Social Security relative to when I took it earlier. Hope that makes sense, man. That's a big deal. If you apply early, your benefit stays lower and stays lower for life. COLAs magnify the impact of early or delayed claiming. The longer you live, the more beneficial it will be to delay benefits. And then you got to factor in your survivors too. All right, so let's go down to survivors. Hold on just a second. One of my kids just texted. Had to say, I'm in the middle of the video, kids. Video. Anyway. Baby boomer question 4, how can I maximize my benefits? Improve your earnings record. I tell you, that's 100% right. And the way you do it is you got to check your earnings record. You go on myssa.gov, sign up for your benefit, and sign up for your record, see exactly, make sure they're all correct. Are there any missing years? Can you improve it by working longer. I don't think you can. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't think you can. I think there can, but I don't think it's nearly to the extent that a lot of people think you can. A lot of people say, I can just work longer. Yeah, maybe not. I've done videos on that to show us. I mean, you're literally talking about working 2,080 hours to it and giving an extra $20 a month. I just don't think it's worth it. But with that said, if you don't have any earnings or very minimal earnings, say 10 years, you can work an extra 5. That will improve it for sure. Maximize your benefits. Apply for Social Security at the optimal time, which is you got to consider. If you need the money now, you got to take it now. There's no other way around that. Consider your life expectancy. If you're going to keel over tomorrow, you might as well take it. But you also got to consider your spouses. Don't just look at the benefit for you. You got to look at both you and she. Or he, or whatever. I mean, I don't care. But you got to look at your spousal benefit too. If you're about to keel over and your spouse is going to be long-lived, then you might want to wait, even though you don't get your benefit because you keel over before you die. At least she'll have the option of getting more. So think about like a life insurance construct. This is if you work while you're taking Social Security. I don't know why people would do that, frankly, other than they really need the money. I would not do that because you are going to lose some money, $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above $17,000. Now, you do get it back. It will be adjusted at full retirement age. But again, you're taking it early, so you're taking a reduced benefit. I'd encourage you not to do that. To avoid the earnings test, wait until your full retirement age. Wait till you're 66 or 67. That's to take it. Ideally that's what you should do. Unless you really need the money, just wait, because that way you don't get it reduced anyway, and then you don't have to get it readjusted at full retirement age to get the money that was withheld put back to you. Coordinate spousal benefits. I 100% agree with this. So Charlotte and Josh, how do we do this? And some of the old strategies have been taken off the table, but there's still some. Where lower earning spouses PIA is more than 50% of the higher earning spouses PIA, both spouses delayed to age 70. One spouse takes advantage of the spousal benefits as allowed. So for Charlotte and me, she's 4 years younger than me. She hasn't worked that much. When I file, she'll file for her spousal benefits. Presumably, it'll be more than her own benefit, but we don't know. And if it's not, but either way, Social Security will deem to pay either more the spousal benefit or her own benefit. Now, if she were to wait until she's 70 for her own record to build up, that might be more than a spousal benefit. So you don't really have a choice anymore of delaying and taking your spousal benefit and then taking your benefit later. You can't really do that. But at the end of the day, she can take her spousal benefit or allow her own benefit to increase until she's 70. We'll just have to play it at that point. Maximize lifetime benefits over average or long life expectancy. If you think you're going to live longer, man, just take benefits later. Right? And they don't even talk. I don't think she talks about, Lane, the taxes. Social Security is very variable, very favorable when it comes to taxes, for sure. So just going back to this right here, coordinate spousal benefits. Remember, Charlotte can't take her benefit off her spousal benefit until I file. She can't. All right. So basically, she can go there and take her own benefit for sure based on her record. She can do that whenever she wants. But we can't play the two against each other. Like, I can't take my spousal benefit on her record. It just doesn't work like that anymore. And who knows what the strategies will be come time later on. But what it stands right now is if you go down there as a spousal benefit, they're going to deem you to claim whichever is more, your spousal or your own. And so if your own is more, it might be favorable to you to delay taking your own anyway, if that makes sense. Simply because you do still get those 8% earning credits. Now, I don't know. It might be, in fact, I would say it's probably favorable for you, even a lower earning spouse, to delay. But here's a hybrid strategy. If your spouse's PIA is 50% of you, so Charlotte makes $800 and I make $2,000, the lower spouse claims early. The higher spouse claims at 70. It generates income sooner while maximizing spouse's benefits over time. Nothing fancy here. The lower spouse just takes reduced benefit off her own record because she can't take it, or he can't take it, until the other spouse files. But I take mine at 70. That way, when I die, at 92 years old, she'll get the max amount she can from Social Security. They do talk about taxation. Yeah, I like this a lot. So Social Security, and I talked a ton about taxation of this in my book that I did, The Tax Bomb in Your Retirement Accounts, and I also talk about it a ton on my various videos. But essentially, it is the same numbers we've had since 1983. if all your income is from Social Security, you pay no taxes. There's no taxes due. I just cannot stress this enough. A lot of people don't believe me. I've done stuff. I can show you a million times a Sunday. Maybe I will do it here real quick. Let's just go into it and say we have $50,000 of Social Security benefits. That's it. $50,000 of Social Security. All right, so what they do is we got to figure out your provisional income, which is a half of your Social Security plus any other benefit, any other income you have to include tax-exempt interest. So if $50,000 is my Social Security, my provisional income is $25,000 because it's one half of my Social Security. If I'm married filing jointly, under $32,000, none of my benefits subject to taxation. It could not be simpler. All right. Now let's just for simplicity say my benefit is $75,000. For simplicity, this between a husband and wife. All right. So $75,000. That means half of that is $37,500. All right. So my benefit is $75,000. Half of my benefits, our benefits, $37,500, which means the first $32,000 is tax-free. The next amount from 32 to 44, which in this case is $37,500. So I have $5,500 is of my Social Security is subject to taxation. All right. So the first $32,000 is not subject to any taxation. Any amount from 32 to 44, half of that amount is subject to taxation. All right. So we got half of that amount there is $5,500. We divide that by 2. Was that $2,750? So of our Social Security benefit, $2,750, this amount right here, is subject to taxation. Our standard deduction is at least $24,000. So our standard deduction exhausts that $2,750. We have no taxable income. So our standard deduction takes away any taxes that we have on that. So our AGI our AGI will be $2,750, $2,750. Our standard deduction is $24,000 or whatever it is at that time, and our taxable income is 0. So if all your benefit is Social Security, you pay no tax, regardless of how much the benefit is. I cannot state that clearly enough. A lot of people don't believe me. I'm just telling you, just run the numbers. I'm telling you, run the numbers. Ways to minimize tax on Social Security: reduce other income with tax advantage investments, not municipal bonds. Could not agree that more, because municipal bonds go into the provisional income numbers, which means they're going to put your Social Security subject to tax. Draw down IRAs before you're 70 and a half. I'm telling you, my friends, the years between 62 and 70 are your golden years of tax planning. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Draw your IRAs down while you're allowing your Social Security to build. I can't stress that enough. Convert traditional to IRA. Delay Social Security reduces the number of years the benefits are subject to tax. And if those benefits are significantly big, they won't be subject to any tax whatsoever, especially if you don't have much in terms of the IRA required minimum distributions. I'm telling you, much rather you have $50,000 of Social Security income than $50,000 of IRA income. It's not even debatable in that regard. Not even debatable. Pay down debt. Could not agree that more. Coordinate Social Security with your overall retirement income plan. Now, here's a big one. Social Security personnel cannot project future benefits through planning. They can't. They can estimate your individual benefits. They can tell you what you're entitled to now, but they can't give you ideas. They can't run scenarios. They won't. Had a lady yesterday on my YouTube channel tell me they didn't even know what a spousal benefit was, and she went to 2 offices. My assumption was she wasn't explaining it correctly, but man, I don't know. So you got to go down there knowing what your stuff is, because this is for you. This isn't for them. This is your benefit. It's going to last for the rest of your life, and probably a good amount of you. This is the most amount of money from an income stream you'll have in retirement. So you got to get it done right. Help with innovative strategies designed to maximize benefits. Yeah. So will Social Security be enough to live on retirement? See, they say probably not. I don't know if I agree with that. If you maximize Social Security and the median income is $60,000, that's work income in America. You lop off $10,000 of that from FICA taxes, 401k contributions, and income taxes. The median household income in the United States after taxes is $50,000. So that's $4,000 a month of Social Security. Can you get that? Sure, absolutely you can if you do some smart planning. So I think probably I do. In fact, I've done videos that say you can certainly live on Social Security. It just depends on your spending. Consider Social Security in the context of pensions, IRAs, required distributions, investment portfolio, and work. Yep. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's my story here. Again, I hope this was helpful to you. Put comments, questions, concerns down the show notes. Thoughts that you have, strategies that you have. Have you been to Social Security? What have you heard? Share, please, because other people are relying on you to share your own information, so that way they can be prepared to file their own Social Security. All right. So again, I'll put this and I'll answer this on. I'll be looking back on this on a regular basis. So just please do comment. And if you like what you see here, subscribe, share this with other people, and we'll see you next time. Thanks now.